So continuing with the spooky intro, we've got our first sip segment this week, which is spooky for a different reason, and it's teams' panic level, the scare meter.
Yeah.
How are we feeling about
Scare
certain
meter.
teams? There are some big losses this last week, some surprising losses,
I
including
can't think
last
of one.
night's
I can't think of a single one. So,
including last night's Monday Night Football. So first sip, we're just gonna go through a couple teams, and you're gonna give me your scare meter level, 1 to 10, how you feeling and why.
yeah.
And let's start off with your hometown team, Buffalo Bills losing to Bill Belichick's 300th win.
Yep.
That game got out of hand quickly, and
Yeah.
despite the resurgence from the Bills, Patriots resurged too. They did
Yeah.
not. It was not a get up early and hold out to the end game. How you feeling?
Yeah, man. It's really tough. I will say I'm no stranger to adversity, especially being a Bills fan growing up in the drought era. So it's kind of like old hat for me. But also that being said, these teams, these successful, dominant, Super Bowl window, underperforming Bills teams, they do this every year. And it's kind of funny because I don't know if people forget or if I just have a different perspective because I'm riding the tip of the wave at all times. But um, you know, 2020, Hail Murray, big loss. They come back, they don't lose another game the rest of the season. 2021, Zach, believe it or not, they rotated wins and losses for 5 weeks in a row before dropping two straight, culminating in losing to Urban Meyer's Jaguars. I will never forget that game. I will never forget that feeling. 7-6 after losing to Tampa Bay in overtime, out of the playoff picture with 4 weeks to go. Win out, win the division. Last year, it wasn't as bad. For some reason, last year, even though it was the year with the most tumult, they just didn't really drop a ton of games. They ended up going 13-3. Um, Most adversity they've ever faced, though. And the offense hit a lot of lows. Last year's Bills team probably would have won the games against the Patriots and the Jaguars because as we saw, they did come back and put up a huge fight in those games. I at first, like my simple caveman Neanderthal brain was like, I hate Ken Dorsey and it's all his fault. But after watching some film, after doing some research, I've come to the conclusion that it's a lot more of an execution thing than it is a Ken Dorsey thing. And to be honest with you, Zach, I hate to say this because he's my boy, but Sean McDermott does not have his guys ready to play. And I don't know if it's because he's inherited defensive play calling and he's taking care of the defense a lot more. Um, I don't know if it's, I know Josh isn't perfect either. That's another thing that's been emerging. I'm accepting that. He's been having some, accuracy issues with his sprained AC joint and his throwing shoulder. I'm hoping that just evens out. I mean, he tends to, I mean, he's a warrior, man. You know that. My panic meter, the defensive health is terrible. Um, my level on the scare meter is maybe a little more measured than it might have been had you talked to me right after the game. But it's not low. And I would say that it's borderline, not medium. I'm going to go with a 6. And I think you actually pointed out to me that the loss by the Dolphins is helpful. It mitigates the scare meter a little bit. Um,
Definitely.
but I'm at a 6 because I do believe there's time to right the ship. I do believe they have the horses to do it. The banged up defense, man. Mac Jones looked like Peyton Manning. I don't want to see that ever again. That made me sick. That made me nauseous. Honestly, I can't stomach that.
Yeah, I'm probably just slightly higher than you. I told you I was a 7.5 after the game. 8 if the Dolphins won. They didn't. I'm not super concerned about Josh Allen and really the offense, but the defense is unquestionably banged up. I mean, Tre'Davious White, injured reserve. Matt Milano, injured reserve. Daquan Jones, injured reserve. Jordan Phillips, questionable. Ed Oliver's now questionable
He missed
post
last
game.
week. Yeah.
And Dawson Knox had surgery on his wrist, so he's
Yeah.
out for the foreseeable future.
Tough.
They have Dalton Kincaid, but it's unquestionable. Knox is a big part of the offense, especially when it comes to blocking. They play
Yeah.
a lot of two tight end sets now. We may see them go back to three wide receiver sets more often with Knox out,
Yeah.
which interesting. But they've been playing two tight end sets predominantly, so a lot of injuries. And I
Yeah.
think that rises my panic meter more than most. Like you said, they made the Patriots offense look good for the first time this season. That's hard to
Gross.
do.
Gross.
So I have some concerns that they can hold up throughout a season without a lot of their star players.
Yeah, and I think you make a lot of great points. Knox with the wrist, it sucks. I love Dawson Knox. He's very, very much woven into the fabric of this team, not just from a X's and O standpoint, but from a character standpoint, from a locker room standpoint. So that's a big loss. I will say the Bills have 7 drives in the last 2 weeks in the second half, and against the Giants, they were 2 for 3 scoring touchdowns. The one that they didn't score a touchdown on, 3rd and 7, Dawson Knox drops a huge pass. Last week against the Patriots, touchdown, touchdown, 4th and 2, Dawson Knox drops a huge pass. They scored 2 touchdowns after that, and then their last possession was, or they scored a touchdown after that, and then their last possession. So 6 of 7, I should have said, or 6 of 8. But their last possession was 12 seconds left and didn't really matter. So yeah, I love Dawson Knox as much as the next guy. You know that. But this the wrist injury might have been playing a bigger role in those drops than we knew. Um, so I am, because he has been battling it, but I am happy to see him getting the help he needs if that's what's gonna prevent those drops from happening, because those were egregious. Those both could have been not necessarily game enders. Well, the Giants one was literally game ender, but the Patriots one would have made the Bills' lives a lot easier. Um, they did have to
Yeah,
end up, yeah,
drops are tough, and that's like I mean, that's the whole thing. Players drop passes, and he's dropped more than a lot in the fair. But I don't think that's what he. I don't think his receiving prowess was the best thing he brought to
you're
the
right.
Bills.
I
It
would
was
agree
his
with that.
blocking for
Yeah,
sure, and the scheme that he brought to it, the level of having a solid, reliable pass catcher, which he has been as well.
for
Drops
sure.
aside, like he's caught a
Yep.
lot of third down, and he's a good blocker. So they'll miss
Yeah,
that regardless. Like he's an above average tight end when it comes to blocking.
yeah,
So, and we saw at the beginning of the year the Bills were trying to establish the run more.
yeah,
Kind of went back away from that the last couple games. Maybe we see that come back. James Cook a little more.
yeah.
Losing Damian Harris again,
Tough.
more injured players.
Murray
He
helps me sort of feel better about losing Harris, though. Murray's been good.
Hey, he's been fine.
Yeah.
I just worry injuries are going to catch up to this team.